Well, as I said, our conversation on the program today is going to be focused on how information communication technology can be a major component in the strategic development of the power sector. And I'm being joined on the program by two ICT experts. I'd like to call them experts, young as they may be, or already they're experts in their field. Fred Agbata and Jude Mgbaka. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the program this morning.
It's a pleasure.
Thank
you very much.
Fred, you've been on my show before. Let me leave the honors to Jude this morning. Jude, we noticed that let's just do a little background before we come in and see how much your kind of what you do, what you specialize in, that is ICT, can contribute effectively to promote the power sector. Now last year the federal government actually took that bold step, privatized the power holding company of Nigeria. We had distribution companies and generating companies. Now, based it on, in terms of attracting investment, can you just hazard a guess of how much the country has been able to garner?
From using ICT in power in the
No,
past sector?
just before we get to that, let's just have a little knowledge of what the industry is at the moment, and then we'll begin to look at how much the ICT has actually contributed, if it has.
Okay, essentially, as it is now, right? I think what we have on ground is the power grid that has been in use since the inception. So the structure essentially has little or nothing to do with ICT. It just generates power, distributes. But of course, lately we've started seeing things like some smart metering systems. So introduction of ICT as a ware is essentially new. So we don't have technological tools applied to the power sector as it stands today. So we are at inception. This is not just a Nigerian thing. Globally, the world is still trying to look at how to bring ICT into the power sector because the power sector is special in its nature. So for us, it means that we can start off from where the world is looking at. So it's a great opportunity, but it must be said that not much has been done in terms of bringing ICT into the power sector. So what it means is just opportunities.
Just opportunities. But then, so how can ICT now be a catalyst to actually aid growth of the power sector if you say that not much has actually been brought in?
Fine. If you look at the power sector, the biggest challenge is efficiency. That means that because if you generate power, and then you transmit, you distribute, and then you send to receivers, there is no way of storing the power in between that production and distribution and having it get to the exact consumption points. So what it means is that you need to have intelligent systems that should be able to manage things like off-peak and low usage periods within the day. So intelligence essentially is where ICT comes in.
Okay.
So when you, in say like 100 years ago, and when we're in the mechanical age, intelligence will handle mechanically. So you have things that could switch on, switch off, and then eventually it came the era of electronics. Now with tech ICT, we have intelligent electronics powered by software, which is installed, generally called smart grids, which is installed and then able to manage the usage of power and then regulate the consumption of power based on need.
No, okay. So, Fred, from what he's just said now, does it seem as if ICT has actually had much impact in terms of promoting energy efficiency?
Okay, yes. I think taking it from where he stopped, talking about smart grid and talking about also the fact that it's still very, very low what we have done in this country in terms of integrating ICT with electricity. But the point is that when one of the administrations came up with a smart metering, that was a good step. Now, the truth of the matter is that you need ICT to be able to create more efficiency within the power sector, especially where Nigeria is and the kind of challenges that the new guys are having to face with what they are doing with the power. I mean, the system, there's a lot that needs to be done, a lot. In fact, just like the conference said, that a lot of things we need to change from the transmission cables to a lot of equipment. The power grids have to become smarter. About whether one of the energy companies are trying to build a smart grid in one of their projects within Nigeria, that's the way to go. You need to think about how power, from the point of, not just for transmission, from the point of generation, transmission and eventual distribution and consumption, we need ICT can play a role in all these areas, and that's where the efficiency can be achieved.
So if you're going to construct a smart grid, that means you're incurring more cost, and that means the end user, at the end of the day, has to pay more. And right now, they're complaining that, you know, what they have to pay is too much. They're not even seeing the electricity. And so at the end of the day, when the smart grid comes up, they will now have added expenses.
Okay.
No, but I think there is no way it will be compared to the cost of running diesel and generator. That's on one hand. Now, there's no way to be, that's on one hand. But the point is this. There is no way that the cost will not stabilize over time.
Over time, yeah.
It will stabilize. But for the guys, these new guys to get it right, they must invest in smart grids. That is just the reality of this point. Now, why do you need smart grid? Even beyond your just development of the grid, you also need to protect the grid. Now, if you don't have ICT in mind from the onset, how can you protect a transmission cable that was built without ICT in mind? But with ICT, a transmission cable can actually be protected. At least it will let you know, it will signify you when there's an intrusion, and it will also signify you where the exact point the intrusion took place and at what time. So, thinking about it into the 1st century, you need ICT. You smile. You need ICT to make this to work.
Let me just add. I think it's important to explain how this, how the smart grid works.
Okay.
Just imagine a normal network, computer network in an office. If there is supposed to be communication between two systems, if one is off, immediately the one-on-one end knows that the guy on the other hand can't receive whatever it is I'm transmitting over the network. That's how smart grid is supposed to work. So essentially, you have nodes in between the network that is able to tell the system. Imagine for how it is now. If my cable is down, in fact, sometimes I have to call the agencies in charge and say my cable is down. They don't know. And this is not efficient because once you become private, once it's a private, there are a lot of things we've condoned over the years because we know it's government. We say, well, we know how they work, you know. But if I'm dealing with a private individual, a private company, and I'm paying you for the services, I want to see it work efficiently. If the cable is down, I expect you to come and fix it immediately.
Which means that the private sector now needs to have a new plan attached to the one they already have in terms of how to ensure that all the installations they're going to have, the pipes they're going to run, the transmission cables, all the rest of it are properly monitored. And it's not everything that human factor is not always a very interesting thing to play with in times like this.
Yes, most certainly. I'm sure that they are smart enough to understand that they need to work with a lot of ICT experts, security experts to help them to build the foundation. Because what they have now, the structure they have now, they can only part for a while, but I'm sure they know that they need to start changing most of this equipment, changing most of the transmission cables.
Yeah, because most of them are obsolete.
Very obsolete.
In fact, at this summit that just ended, the 7th Lagos Economic Summit, that was another thing that was actually highlighted, the fact that most of the equipment are actually obsolete.
So, as I was coming here this morning, the cable fell across the 4 lanes on the road, you know, so, and it caused a bit of traffic. And I'm sure that's what we're talking about. If it was a smart cable, or if there was a node attached to it, the guys will already know. Because it happened last night, and by this morning it's off the road. So we need to begin. Now, let me also piggyback to one of the points you raised. Now, if I'm a consumer and I'm brought a bill, if I have a smart metering system and I can see that the bill actually reads what I consumed, I would have no problem paying. Why Nigerians are complaining is because it's just a guest bill. Just come. Okay, you have, this is your house, 4 ACs, 10,000. Now, but if there's a way that the consumer, can actually match what they have consumed to what the bill, they would happily pay, because you cannot compare the cost of running diesel to whatever cost that the power guys would ask us to pay. Plus, coupled with the noise pollution and environmental pollution.
Okay, now let's put a figure to this smart grid that we're talking about. How much does it cost realistically to actually put up a smart grid?
Okay, fine. I think it depends on the level of integration. Okay, how far do you want to take it? Because this can get as far as from the grid themselves to the smart metering to actually monitoring the actual uses of appliances within the homes.
Okay.
So is the exact figure I can't place right now, but I mean, it depends on how far the organization are willing to go. What are they willing to do?
But no, Jude, I will take you up on this one. You know, because nobody's in this to make any loss.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody's in this to make any loss, and nobody's in this to fail.
Yes.
It's a risk that they've all taken,
Yes.
guaranteed.
Big risk.
But then they want to ensure that if there is a success in this sector, after this unbundling and the privatization, they want to be named they want their names to be called when the success of the sector is called. And so, coming into this atmosphere as it is, they want to make sure that they make profit, but at the same time satisfy their consumers, and they are ready to go to any lengths. Like one of the participants at the session actually said that money is not really an issue for them, because some of them actually came in with even their personal finance just to make sure that the business begins to move. And so there's a strong commitment. And so if a stronger commitment, for instance, is shown in terms of ensuring that we have, like most of them begin to have smart grids, do we think that this problem will be quickly reduced?
Yes, I'm excited to hear that. I mean, I know that actually they've said they are ready. They brought in some big amount of money to make this thing happen. And
massive equipment as well.
Yes, exactly. But the thing is this, when it comes to actual implementation of smart grid and then bringing ICT totally to manage the system as far as power is concerned, it requires actually a total overhauling of the existing system, both in terms of bringing in ICT experts, and then we already spoke about the infrastructure itself. Now, this is a lot of money. Now, if you're going to actually embark on this kind of project, it means that you're looking at the future. You're looking essentially at the future. You can't talk of immediate profit. So, because there's no background for even what we're about to go into, it's a totally new platform that they need to be operating on.
But then it's not something that people haven't done. Other countries haven't practiced before.
Yes, even those who have done it, right, they're looking for how to move forward. That's why I said that for us, we don't have to do their history. We can just go into the future with them. So the latest technologies is what we should be looking at bringing in. So what is happening in the US, for example, what are they trying to implement? I've seen conferences in the US where they are thinking of taking it into home. Of course, there are resistance to these things. Some of these things, like people are saying that the monitoring will be too much, because when you know exactly when I switch my AC on, that is knowing too much about how I'm living. But then again, where they are right now is where we should start from, because starting late is an opportunity for us. It's an opportunity for us, because it means that we can just start exactly where they are and then do the best. And that is a whole lot of money. And for me, I think the investors should think in that light. That is what is advisable. They should be thinking futuristically.
I think I would like to make a point. The truth of the matter is that the money they need, what they have now, I'm sure it's child's play. Because I've heard the minister asking, giving them, saying that they can go to the stock market to raise, which is one area they should be looking at. Because when you talk about building smart grids, it's going to cost a whole lot. And generally in the ICT industry, we can't just put a figure to the point, because we need to understand what the job is in full. But the point is this. We're taking the right steps, the right strategies. It's good that we have bundled this. Now, but the next step is, how do we begin to implement these core ICT strategies to ensure that our power becomes efficient, and also to change the habits of the average consumer in terms of how they manage electricity.
Exactly.
You see people going out to their home, they leave all the lights on.
We're going to talk about that when we come back. Let's just quickly take a break and catch our breath. Well, you're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television, and today on the program, we're looking at how ICT can be a major component in the strategic development of the power sector. We'll be right back.